Hello, I am Jessica Morales, and today I will be presenting my presentation on Let's Learn Spanish, how I will convince you that we should learn Spanish as a second language. And my main idea is to prove how the increase of native Spanish speakers may cause us to want to learn a second language so we could further our communication. So to start off, I will start off with a quote from Cesar Chavez that states, "Our language is a reflection of ourselves. A language is an exact reflection of character and growth of its speaker." And I think it relates to today's topic because he had to face a lot of discrimination. Not only him, but the people who worked around him weren't paid the amount for the work that they did. And he worked hard, and he felt a lot of pride, not only for himself and his people, but also for his language, which reflected his character. And I still think that even in today's day and age, if we work together and strive for change, even in the simplest of things, we can also make a change in our world. Which is why I think that in learning Spanish, we can reach some common ground and we can join together as a society and do something different and be closer together than we've ever been before. So I will start off with my first slide, which is introducing my 3 points for today, which is the growing Spanish language, how Spanish is one of the most spoken languages in the world, and the difficulty of learning it. Which is curious to me because since I have always been here in California, it's interesting to think how there are several states in the United States who aren't as influenced by Hispanic culture or language, and I think it's curious as to how the increase is going to happen and how it might be a necessity to learn more Spanish in the future. And today, I am a credible source because I have done the research and also I am a native Spanish speaker. The reason I strive to look for better communication is because as a child, when I was younger, my siblings and I would have to translate a lot of things for my parents, and it would be a lot of pressure on them and for me to translate important documents that a child should not be translating because we're not as proficient as when we're young as perhaps when we learn more words when we're older. So that's why I strive that maybe we should learn Spanish as a second language to further communication and translation. So today I will continue to my first point, which is the growing Spanish language. To continue with my first point, I have, as I previously stated, I have always been surrounded by Hispanic culture and the Spanish language. So it's interesting to see how other states don't really have a lot of Hispanic speakers. Like, let's say in Montana, we wouldn't see as many Spanish speakers as we do in California. And this is proven according to the Los Angeles Almanac, which states how the LA County has one of the largest amount of Spanish speakers than any other of the other counties in the US. And bear in mind, the US has 50 states, and the LA County has the greatest amount. This goes to show the popularity of the Spanish-speaking community and how it will keep increasing. It continues to state how 43% of the LA County residents speak English. 43%, which means English speakers are the minority in the language department, which goes to show in also this third point where the Department of Consumer Affairs states that California passed the California Translation Act, which is an act that actively implores that legal documents be translated in the language of the person receiving the legal document. So if you are signing a contract, the contractor has to translate the document in the language of the person receiving the contract or legal document, which goes to show this is proven, how the minority of people speak English. So if the majority of people spoke English, then there would be no necessity to translate the documents. But since the majority of people speak Spanish or a different language, then it's a necessity now. And now it makes them the majority, which means, I think, that more people should learn Spanish, considering the increase of the people who do speak Spanish. And so I move on to my second point for today. It's the popularity of the Spanish language. I know the map is kind of blurry, but it shows the 10 states that have the most Spanish speakers. So I will start off with my first source. According to Babbel, in the US, there are 43 million people who speak Spanish, and 13% of the global population are Spanish speakers, which is incredible considering that the global population is over 8 billion. And even having 1% of the global population is insane, let alone having 13% of it. Babbel continues to state that Spanish is the third most studied language. It shows that the increase of popularity is there, and that many people want to learn it because it's easier for communication's sake. I also saw a map similar to the one I just mentioned on telelanguage.com, which shows the 10 states that have the most Spanish speakers. They have roughly over 500,000 people in each state that is marked in red. Such states as California, Texas, or Florida have little over 1 million people, but the rest of them have over 500,000, which shows the increase of people that speak Spanish. And also, according to telelanguage.com, it also states that by 2050, the US will have over 138 million Spanish speakers, which definitely proves the skyrocketing popularity of Spanish and the increase of native Spanish speakers, which would make it wise for one to learn Spanish as a second language. So now I will move on to my third and final point, which is the difficulty of Spanish as a language. And I know there's a question behind everyone's mind because I also went through this in high school, whereas many students learn Spanish as a foreign language. So the question is, why don't more people know Spanish if they learn it in high school? And the reason for that, according to Education Week, is that 25% of high school students only learn a foreign language to be competitive in college. Which means that instead of learning Spanish to further communication's sake, they learn Spanish for a foreign language credit, and after those 2 years of foreign credit, there is no need to further their education. According to the Spanish Forum, it's easier for people to learn Spanish if they already know a language with a Latin root. So for example, French, Italian, or Portuguese, it would be easier for them to learn Spanish because many of those words are very similar to Spanish. And unfortunately, English is not one of those languages that has the Latin root, so it might be more difficult to learn it in that scenario. The Spanish Forum also states that some struggles when learning Spanish are verbal forms, conjugations, and several words that can mean the same thing. But I think that despite that, there are other languages that are very hard to learn that are a minority language, like perhaps German or even Dutch that have different rules and are very much harder to learn compared to Spanish. And so we reach our final conclusion for today, that I believe that the increase of the Spanish language is definitely detrimental and is very important in today's day and age, because there are so many miscommunications going on in the world. And I think that if we can learn some Spanish, not even fluent Spanish, I think we as a society can come together and, we can put down discrimination not only between Americans and Hispanics, but among other races as well. Because once we increase communication, we increase understanding, and then we're all knowledgeable and can come together as a society that can understand each other better instead of trying to guess what we are saying. So thank you for listening for today, and hopefully I've convinced you to learn Spanish as a second language. It's a beautiful language, and of course, here's my reference page